let's talk about the teams who have the odds to finish with the worst record in the NFL. Leading that list, not surprisingly, the Houston Texans at plus 350, followed by Atlanta at 4-1, Seattle 7-1, Jets are 8-1, Jags are 9-1, Carolina and Chicago at 10-1, and then the Lions at 12-1. Would you put your money on any of these bottom dwellers?
I think it would be a safe play, or not a terrible play, to back the Falcons here. In fact, I think this is the only instance where you put your money on the Atlanta Falcons to have one of the worst seasons in the NFL. In fact, I think they're going to have the most losses and the fewest wins of any team in the NFL, because they're the only team that was really bad, and now they're getting markedly worse because they had a switch at quarterback. At least Matt Ryan is a future, I would say he's probably a Hall of Famer, right?
I think so. I think so.
Yeah, but still, he is a good quarterback who was playing on a team that just wasn't very good, because this is a Falcons team that was bottom 5 in both offense and defense. And Marcus Mariota ain't coming in and changing any of that. In fact, I think he's going to make this a worse team just by setting foot on the field. And that's even if he can stay healthy for most of the season. Because, listen, I was a Titans fan when Marcus Mariota was the quarterback, and we as an offense averaged 19 points per game. We still had Derrick Henry, one of the best running backs in this decade. And if Marcus Mariota can't work with that and a decent defense, like, I don't know what to tell you, Falcons fans, but I think it's going to be a long season. And I think for me, I'm looking at the Falcons to have one of the worst records in all of football for plus 400. Yeah, that's my play.
I'm with you here. I think the Texans are going to be slightly better. Don't really trust Lovie Smith, but Davis Mills was very good at the end of last season at quarterback. The Falcons at least have weapons. They have Drake London, Kyle Pitts, but Calvin Ridley suspended for the season. You're right. What's the point of having these talented receivers with a lot of potential if nobody can throw you the football? Let's bring in Double D here, because believe it or not, the man is an Atlanta Falcons fan. I don't know how it happened, but the man is here. So, Double D, how bad are your Falcons going to be this season, or are you going to put some incredible positive spin on this?
Absolutely no positive spin whatsoever. Their over-under is 4.5 wins, and I took the under. So,
God,
no, I actually believe they're probably going to get swept in their own division. I think they go 0-6 in their own division. You bring up the talent that they have at wide receiver. The only talent that they have that's any kind of proven is Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
Absolutely the only one. Drake London sat out last year, didn't play a game in college football, so you don't know what's going to happen with Drake London. You have probably the worst quarterback room in the whole NFL. Thank God Josh Rosen signed with Cleveland. But yeah, you have Marcus Mariota, Desmond Ridder, an unproven and I think a bust of a quarterback, and you have Felipe Franks. And anyone who knows that, if you get a hand in his face, Felipe Franks turns into a deer in headlights. So they have the worst quarterback room. They have no running game except for Cordell Patterson, which if you're going to use him like they use Deebo Samuels, you're going to run that poor veteran into the ground. So, I have no faith whatsoever.
I love Cordell Patterson, criminally underrated in the NFL because he plays for the Falcons. But you're right. He got so many touches last year because they asked him to do everything. If they keep doing that, they will wear him out. So they need to be careful if they want to keep him around.
Well, and also they play in a tough division for them. Like the NFC South is not a tough division, but the Falcons are contributors to that, and they don't get to play themselves. So instead, they have to play the Bucs twice this season. They have to play the Saints twice this season, which I think the Saints are going to be much better this season. At least they are good defensively. I don't see Marcus Mariota putting up points on that defense. And then looking at the Panthers, they at least tried to get better. And I think that as much as I am not a huge fan of Baker Mayfield, he's still an improvement over Sam Darnold and PJ Walker. So I think when you're looking at that division, those wins aren't going to come easy for the Falcons, and you're playing all of those teams twice a season. Then you add in, other, teams across the schedule. It's just a Falcons team that's in a bad position, and I'm not seeing any signs of positivity.
No, I totally agree. And also, I'm surprised that the Jaguars don't have shorter odds here. I'm surprised you can get them at 9-1 to have the worst record, but that just tells you that this is all based on just a couple things. One is another year for Trevor Lawrence, and B, the fact that Herbs is out of there. Guaranteed, if Urban Meyer was still coaching this team, they might end up being the worst team in the NFL. But just by virtue of the fact that they have Doug Peterson and more experience there, they just have to be better. This is a daily tip from BetQL presented by BetMGM. She's Chelsea Messenger. I'm Michael Jenkins. Coming up in 10 minutes, Dodgers pitcher Tony Gonsolin went undefeated in the first half of the season and should be able to keep that streak alive against the Nationals. We'll look at today's baseball action and go in the rotation. And tonight, as the games are unfolding, you can listen to BetMGM Tonight with Quentin Mayo, Ryan Horvat, and Trista Crick. They offer instant advice for in-game wagering. It is all on BetQL and all available on the Odyssey app. What about odds to finish with the best record in the NFL? Your favorite, the Buffalo Bills at plus 450. Then you've got Tampa right behind at 5-1. Green Bay is 7-1. The Chiefs and Rams are 9-1. Cowboys are 10-1. Ravens and Broncos 14-1. What jumps out at you here, Chelsea?
I started from strength of schedule because looking at some of the top teams on this list, yeah, they're great teams, but they also have gauntlets of a schedule, especially teams that played in a Super Bowl last year. The Rams have a very tough schedule. In fact, it is the number one hardest schedule in the NFL. So I'm going to stay away from the Rams here. I'm looking towards the teams with softer schedules. And for me, good teams with very easy schedules are the Packers and the Ravens, 22nd and 23rd in strength of schedule, respectively. I think the Packers are kings of beating up on their division rival. So I think you look at their schedule, there are a couple L's in there. I think going on the road to Tampa Bay, that's probably an L for them. Going on the road to the Bills, probably an L. But other than that, most of these are almost, I'm not going to say guaranteed wins, but these are games that they should win. They get the Cowboys at home. They get the Rams at home. So I think that looking at strength of schedule, it's probably the Packers for me.
Yeah, I was looking at that earlier too, and I think you're right there. I think that's absolutely something you should take into consideration, despite or in addition to the talent on each team. I wanted to look at the Bucks just because the division is so bad. We were just talking about the NFC South, and they should just roll through that division, even though the Saints are going to be improved. However, the rest of their schedule is a little bit more daunting, and because of that, that makes me lean towards the Packers as well. Although I do think they're going to miss Devontae Adams a hell of a lot more than we're thinking they are.
Yeah, I also would take a look at the Ravens because nobody is better at beating up on bad teams than the Ravens. I do think that they're going to be much better. I think they're going to be a great regular season team. I think the problems for the Ravens are probably going to come in the postseason if they face a team that can actually stop the run. But also worth a look as well. Maybe the Ravens. Was it 14-1? Some pretty good value.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So good value there. I like a lot of Ravens bets this season. I am big on Baltimore.